I'm Jonasz Rewński and this is Military Mind. Armed conflicts, defense and security, land, sea and air. We've got you covered. Over the past 24 hours, Ukrainian Air Force officials detected more than 700 aerial targets approaching from Russian territory, as authorities across the country reported widespread destruction and civilian casualties. The heaviest impact was felt in the capital. Russian strikes killed 4 people and wounded 48 others in Kiev. Fires and significant damage were reported across several districts of the city. Further south, Russian drones and missiles struck Odessa. According to local authorities, 7 people were killed and 11 others were wounded. The attack damaged port facilities, critical infrastructure and residential buildings across the city. In Dnipro, Russian strikes killed 2 people and wounded around 30 others. The attack caused damage to office buildings, administrative facilities and residential buildings in the city. Meanwhile, the fighting is not limited to Ukrainian territory. Ukrainian drones carried out strikes in Russia's Krasnodar region. Now, according to the official reports from the Russian authorities, in the city of Tuapse, the attack killed 2 children and wounded 2 adults. Drone debris damaged several residential buildings, including 5 private houses and 1 apartment block, while fragments also fell on industrial sites near the seaport. The strike triggered a fire at the Tuapse oil refinery, adding concerns over energy infrastructure vulnerability. Now, on the front line, Russian forces continue to increase pressure in eastern Ukraine, attempting to expand their control near Kostiantynivka. According to Ukrainian military analyst Konstantin Mashoviets, Russian forces are attempting to capture Kostiantynivka and Druszkivka in order to advance towards Kramatorsk from the south. He says that over the past 2 weeks, Russian troops have intensified operations in this area after falling behind schedule in their broader offensive aimed at the Sloviansk-Kramatorsk agglomeration. However, Russian forces have only managed to secure positions southwest of Kostiantynivka and have not taken full control of the city. Attempts to advance into the central and western parts of Kostiantynivka have so far failed, although Russian units have increased their presence in the eastern and southeastern parts of the city. At the same time, Ukrainian forces continue to hold positions near Chasiv Yar, creating a threat to Russian flanks and complicating further advances. The analyst also notes that earlier attempts to advance towards Druszkivka in order to cut off Kostiantynivka have failed, forcing Russian command to redirect forces originally intended for an assault on Kramatorsk. He adds that operations towards Dobropilya are stretching Russian resources and reducing pressure on Kostiantynivka itself, complicating the overall offensive. Bakhmut, once the industrial and cultural hub of the Donetsk region, is now a wasteland of concrete and rust. New footage has surfaced online, filmed by a Chechen soldier from one of Kadyrov's infamous units, revealing the true face of the so-called Russian world without the filters of propaganda TV channels. The invader takes a tour through the city's neighborhoods. The picture remains the same. Skeletons of high-rise buildings, private homes burned to the ground, and piles of rubble where streets once were. Instead of the rapid reconstruction and new neighborhoods promised by the Kremlin, which Russian officials so proudly tout in their reports, the footage shows only total devastation. A Russian kamikaze drone attacked a moving vehicle with Ukrainian soldiers, attempting to deliver a critical blow to the rear or to the cab of their pickup truck. The moment the munition was supposed to detonate should have been fatal, but no explosion occurred after the direct collision. The drone crashed into the vehicle's body, but its detonator failed to activate. So there definitely was a little bit of luck involved. Also, you might have noticed how the vehicle was not actually marked as a military asset. And that, unfortunately, is the reality of the war in Ukraine. You see, the Russians attack vehicles, whether they are civilian or military. They're not really looking whether troops are actually traveling using a civilian car, which is a common practice. If it was a civilian vehicle, unfortunately, it would have been as much of a target for the Russians as in this case, where it was actually carrying troops. And this is confirmed by countless reports of war crimes committed against civilians by the Russian units using drones to essentially engage in what they call a human safari. Now moving on to another story. Against the backdrop of the growing role of robotic systems, Russians also want to be essentially up with the ongoing trends. They want to introduce updates. They want to take part in this tech revolution. However, they're doing this in a very specific way. The Russian defense industry has recently unveiled an updated line of Kurier ground-based robotic systems. And they are for the military, they are not for delivering food or anything like that, contrary to what the name might actually suggest. Now, this small-sized tracked platform, previously positioned as an attack vehicle, has now been equipped with specialized modules for remote mining and active protection against airborne threats. The main feature of the updated models is the installation of an additional mounting bracket for anti-drone equipment, which in this case means the unmanned vehicle ended up festooned with more spikes than a new metal singer's hairstyle. I mean, I know we're in the middle of a Y2K revival and all, but I'm not sure if this contraption will end up being anything more than a military fashion statement. Now this essentially is like a miniature version of a Russian turtle tank. Remember these old tanks that were essentially retrofitted with additional armor plates and also lots and lots of spikes protruding from these plates to essentially protect them against drone attacks. Now this small vehicle has one disadvantage. Unlike a tank, it could be vulnerable to explosions taking place close to the vehicle. So if the warhead is detonated on the approach, but without hitting it, then all those protections are basically for nothing. And with this, we conclude this edition of Military Mind. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news, updates and commentary.